Hello, my dear students. As you know that your half yearly exams are over and now we are going to move on to the next term. I am Poonam Gupta, your moral science teacher is going to explain you lesson number 7, dignity of labor. Dignity of labor means that all occupations, whether involving intellect or physical labor, deserves equal respect and dignity. No job is superior or inferior. Any task done with honesty deserves respect. For a nation to progress, the people need to be laborious. We should not be over dependent on technology or other people for our work. We should learn to do the basic tasks by ourselves. It often happens that when people get more qualified, they feel doing manual labor is beneath their dignity and often look upon farmers, traders, and ordinary labor with disrespect. A job of farmer is as important as an employee in a multinational company. He is feeding his country. Now, we will discuss the story given in your book. So, here's the concept of this story. No work or vocation is too lowly or insignificant. A street cleaner's contribution to society is as important as is a research scientist. One must try and do one's best in whatever one does. Not everyone can lead. The crew is also as indispensable as the captain of a ship. It is when each of us performs our designated task well that the community, the society, and the nation progresses and flourishes. It was not by gold or by silver, but by labor that all wealth of the world was originally purchased. So, overview of this story is: should one live by one's own labor and be contented with its fruits, or depend on what others do and produce? This parable, written by Leo Tolstoy, takes us back to the time when land and its produce was free for everyone. Here is how. So now this is the story. One day, some children found in a ravine a thing shaped like a grain of corn, but as big as a hen's egg. A traveler bought it from the children for a penny and sold it to the king, for it was a thing of curiosity. The king, unable to make it out, called his wise council and asked them what it was. They pondered but could not identify it. Then one day a hen pecked at it as it lay on a window sill, till it made a hole in it, and then everyone saw that it was a grain. The wise man told the king so, and he was much surprised to see a corn of such size. He ordered the man to find out where such grain grew. The wise man returned after some days and said, "We can't give you an answer. There is no such thing mentioned in our books. You will have to ask the peasants. Perhaps some of them may know about it." So the king gave the order for a very old peasant to be brought to him, and his servants found such a man and presented him before the king. The man was old and bent with age, and pale and toothless. He could just manage to walk with the help of two crutches. The man was shown the grain. "Can you tell us, old man, where such a grain as this grew?" the king asked. The old man could hear with great difficulty and finally replied, "No, I never sowed or reaped any such. We always saw corn of the same small size that they are now. But you might ask my father. He may have known of such grain," he suggested. The old man's father was summoned, and he came walking with one crutch. He was asked the same question, though he was a bit hard of hearing. He could still hear better than his son. "No," he replied, "I haven't seen a grain of such size in my lifetime. But my father might know something about it," he said. So the old man's father was summoned. He entered walking easily and needed no crutches. His hearing was good and he spoke clearly. "It is long since I saw such a fine grain," he declared, holding it in his hand. "Tell me, when and where did such corn grow? Have you ever sown, reaped, or bought any such grain in your lifetime?" the king asked, excited at the man's reply. "Corn like this used to grow everywhere in my time," the old man replied. "We sowed, reaped, and ate such corn when I was a lad. And no, it was neither sold nor bought, for it was a sin to buy or sell bread, and we knew nothing of money. Each man grew corn for himself and his family, and had enough of his own. Where was your field? Where did you grow corn like this?" the king queried him. "My field was God's earth. Wherever I plowed, that was my field. Land was free. It was a thing no man called his own. Labor was the only thing men called their own," was the simple reply. "I have two more questions to ask you," the king continued. "The first is, why did the earth bear such a grain then, and has ceased to do so now? And the second is, why does your grandson walk with two crutches, your son with one, and you yourself with none? Your eyes are clear and bright, your teeth sound, and your speech clear and pleasant to the ear. How is this so?" The old man answered, "This is so because men have ceased to live by their own labor and taken up depending on others. In old times, men lived according to God's law. They had what was obtained by their own toil and sweat and never coveted or depended on what others produce. So you are given one example of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nation. Gandhiji spun thread on his wooden loom daily for decades. He believed that no one had the right to eat his meals unless he performed labor in an equal measure. So, moral of the lesson is we should respect all forms of work. A farmer has an equivalent role as of an IAS officer in running the nation. We should not get over dependent on others for our work. So, this is all about of lesson 7. Thank you for watching this video.